is fight week, UFC 253. We got 2 title fights. We got a decent little card going on. And what a fight to welcome us back to Fight Island. UFC 253. Israel Adesanya, 19-0, the middleweight division champion, against Paulo Costa, 13-0, the number 1 contender. Someone's O has got to go. We got 2 undefeated fighters fighting for the middleweight title. It doesn't get much bigger than this. And I am excited. I don't know about you lot, but I'm very, very excited. Like, I've been wanting to see this fight happen ever since I first saw these 2 guys fight in the UFC. Like, I remember the Stylebenders debut against Vittori, I think it was. I can't say I remember it and then not remember his opponent, but I do remember I remember his debut in the UFC. I remember how he walked into the cage and he pulled his imaginary willy out and had an imaginary piss and marked his territory and all that stuff. I thought, oh, who's this guy? I'd never heard of him before then. But ever since then, I've been very, very, very excited to watch him fight. And this is no different. Paulo Costa, he is a juggernaut. He's a man, innit? He's a real guy. And I remember watching him fight, and I can't remember watching his debut in the UFC. But the first fight I remember him fighting in is him against Johnny Hendricks. But when he fought Johnny Hendricks, I was already aware of him. So I know I've seen his previous 2 fights. I just can't remember him right now, and I don't have Fight Pass. Actually, I should just use Fight Pass and whatnot. But yeah. Don't really want to say that out loud, but anyway, let's change subject. So before I talk about the fight itself, I just want to talk a little bit about the fight on a grander scale, not what's going to happen in the cage or the octagon. So when this fight got announced, it was built off of a lot of animosity, and they were talking a lot of crap about each other and stuff like that. And to me personally, I'm not trying to be a hipster, I'm not trying to be a know-it-all, but it just didn't really kind of excite me. That animosity between both of these guys. And the reason it didn't excite me is I feel like it's because Paulo Costa's first language isn't English. And because his first language isn't English, I felt like there was a bit of a cultural difference. And the way they were talking to each other, it just wasn't connecting. Do you know what I mean? It weren't connecting the way a nice spot of shit talking between 2 fighters usually does connect for me, because I'm not going to lie to you, man, I'm a bit of a casual when it comes to 2 fighters not liking each other. It really spices things up for me. It does make me more excited for a fight. But the good thing with this fight is both of these guys' styles, I believe, will gel so well that you don't need them to not like each other, because how many times have we seen 2 fighters that don't like each other go in there and have a stinker? And then we see 2 guys that are all hugging and shaking before and taking pictures and during the weigh-ins and whatnot. And they go in there and they just want to take each other's heads off. And I feel like this fight is going to be one of those fights where 2 guys just want to take each other's heads off. So let's talk about the fighters. Paulo Costa, what are his strengths? I feel like his strengths are he's tenacious, he's aggressive, he's powerful, he's strong. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to mention a bit later on, but let's just focus on the little list that I just made. The tenacity and his aggression are things that he uses very well because he controls it. He's not just going in there blindly, head down, marching forward, throwing wild punches, winging his arms around, just throwing random kicks. Like, he's aggressive, but he controls it in a way that he throws combinations, he throws leg kicks, he throws body kicks, he throws head kicks, he throws different variations of punches. But when he puts a combination together, I feel like he throws it knowing that not all of these are going to connect. I'm not going to land with all of these shots. But he's doing it with the aggression, knowing that if the first one misses, the second one's going to hit you. Does that make sense? Like, he knows that is a potential possibility, but it doesn't deter him from doing it. Like an example I gave of Tyron Woodley, it was like it looks like he looks for the perfect conditions to throw a strike because he's looking for the perfect conditions for them to land. Whereas Paulo Costa doesn't need that. He's got the aggression and he's happy to miss. He's happy to miss, and he's got the self-belief in his own gas tank and his own stamina and his ability to maintain that level of volume and power throughout the fight. And that's what I really like about him, because he, if you just look at him, he doesn't seem like he is overly intelligent. He doesn't seem like he is he's working to a game plan even. Do you know what I mean? It just seems like he's just going out there. Ooh, and he nearly knocked my bloody camera over. He just looks like he's going out there and he's just trying to find the finish by hook or by crook. That's what I really like about him. His strength helps him because he likes to strike, and I've not really seen him get taken down. If he has got taken down, I can't say I can remember him being taken down and held down for a sustained period, and that's obviously a plus for him, because he doesn't want to be on the ground. He wants to strike. He wants to knock you clean out, and that's what I like about him. I think a misconception about him is his actual power, because just judging by his most recent fights in the UFC, his finishes have come. He's finished. He's TKO'd this McClellan guy. I don't remember it. I think I remember the fight against Bambosa, but I can't be sure. I do remember Hendricks, Uriah Hall, and obviously Yoel Romero. And the reason why I'm listing these out is he doesn't finish fights with one strike. It's not like a one punch and his fight and his opponent is just there for the taking. It's a sustained period. It's a sustained beating. He softens his opponent up and then he gets the finish eventually. Uriah Hall, second round. Johnny Hendricks, second round. It wasn't like a first round, first minute, first 2 minute, one bang and his opponent's out. And I think that's a bit of a misconception, because of his physique and the way he's built and the way he fights, people just think, oh, this guy's got power, and Israel Adesanya's got to be very wary of his power. Obviously he throws strikes that are going to hurt. Obviously he has the capability of hurting Israel Adesanya. I just don't think he's got that one punch, one strike power that Israel Adesanya needs to be very, 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 very wary of. And I'm going to come back onto that point at the end of this video. One thing that I just want to point out, a couple of unknowns when it comes to Paulo Costa. One, I don't feel like he has fought the caliber of fighters a fighter usually has to fight to climb the ranks in a weight class to demand a title shot. So the names I've just listed off, all of those fighters he's fought, apart from Yoel Romero, I can't say are top 10, top 15 middleweights in the UFC. And the standard kind of names people generally fight on their way up, I don't know, a Tavares or a Brunson, or just name another middleweight, a Jacare, do you know what I mean? A Chris Weidman. Like, he hasn't fought these guys. So he's looked good in his victories, and that's what's got him his title shot. That's what's got him his opportunity. But I just don't know whether he has the skill level to beat an Israel Adesanya. The second thing is, and this is quite an obvious one, because of his fighting style, I don't know whether he can go 5 rounds. I don't know whether he has the gas tank to go 5 rounds. And he might be able to go 5 rounds, but will that power carry to the 4th and 5th round? Because that's what he relies on. He relies on his ability to hurt his opponents. And if he gets to the 4th round and the 5th round against Israel Adesanya, and he's lost that power, he's lost that snap in his strikes, then Israel Adesanya will just dance rings around him. Do you know what I mean? So those are two things you've got to be wary of. When it comes to Israel Adesanya, there's not really much I need to say about him. I've go back and watch some of my previous videos about this guy. I'm just going to quickly say, I think this guy is probably one of the most intelligent fighters when it comes to this game. The one thing that I love about him is how he manages to control. He dictates where the fight takes place. The only fight that I can remember him not being able to do that in is against Gastelum, when Gastelum had him hurt. Even then, he still had his wits about him to avoid getting hurt again until he could recoup and, again, get his wits about him again. Do you know what I mean? So I love his intelligence. I love the way he controls where the fight takes place. He controls the distance. And a lot of people say that, oh, he's this counter striker. I don't necessarily count him as a counter striker. I don't think he needs his opponent to throw for him to expose an opportunity to land a strike on his opponent. I just feel like he likes to spend the first round, the first 7-8 minutes of a fight, especially if it's a 5-rounder, to kind of get a feel for his opponent, try and figure out his opponent's movements, try and figure out the little nuances and things that they little habits that they've got in the octagon. And he's able to understand that and interpret that so quickly and expose that later on in the fight. And I don't know whether that's something that you can teach anyone. I just think the man's got an instinct for fighting. He's got a fighter's instinct. And that instinct that he's got is the same instinct that helps him survive in moments of trouble that he had against Gastelum, because that's the only fight I can remember him ever having any moments of trouble. So how will this fight play out? For me, I do feel like Paulo Costa has the confidence, and again, I'm going to go back, the aggression and he's accepted, I think, as a fighter, that I'm going to push forward and I'm going to try and find an opportunity to hurt my opponent. And within that, he's accepted that there is a potential that his opponent's going to hit him back. And I think the fact that he's accepted that is something that helps him have the aggression that he's got. So go into Israel Adesanya in the first round, the first 7-8 minutes, where Israel Adesanya isn't being the aggressor and he's trying to work out what Paulo Costa's doing and his movements and the techniques that Paulo Costa throws. That will be Paulo Costa's best chance of winning the fight. And I'm not saying that he needs to win the fight within those 5 minutes or within those 7 minutes. What I think Paulo Costa absolutely needs to win this fight is to hurt Israel Adesanya within the first round, the first 7-8 minutes. I feel like he needs to land strikes for his confidence to grow through the fight. And then there's an opportunity for him to even win on points. Like he can win on points. But I think he needs to land early. I think he needs to feel within himself that he's hurt Israel Adesanya early to maintain the pressure and to maintain the aggression that he needs to beat Israel Adesanya. Now, from Israel Adesanya's point of view, he's going to try and do what he always does. One thing that he doesn't necessarily, I don't think, needs to worry about is Paulo Costa trying to take him down, trying to hold him against the fence. I feel like Israel Adesanya will be comfortable in his movement. I feel like Israel Adesanya will kind of, it will almost be like a kickboxing match for Israel Adesanya, obviously with altered rules where you can hold a lot more and elbows, and well, some kickboxing matches you can elbow. But do you know what I mean? Like, I think Israel Adesanya will be very, very comfortable. But Israel Adesanya has got caught before. He has got caught before. He was hurt by Kelvin Gastelum. So just because he's for me, a master striker, it doesn't mean to say that people within the middleweight division aren't good enough to connect, aren't good enough to hurt Israel Adesanya. For me, this is a very, very, very intriguing fight. My prediction is this. Even though Paulo Costa might land and hurt Israel Adesanya in the first round, in the first 8 minutes or so, I feel like Israel Adesanya, I don't know whether Paulo Costa has enough power to finish him in that situation. And I feel like Israel Adesanya has the chin and the fighter's instinct needed to navigate out of a hairy situation potentially. And I feel like the longer the fight goes, the more it's in favour of Israel Adesanya. And I feel like Israel Adesanya does this, either a late finish, late 4th round, early 5th round, or a points decision victory. But I do predict this is going to be a crazy, crazy fight, and you don't want to miss it. Let me know what you guys think. Put your comments below. Let me know what you think about my prediction, my breakdown. If you want to expand on anything that I've said, feel free to put it in the comments. And if you've enjoyed it, like it, share it, subscribe to it, all of that good stuff. I'll catch you guys next time.